Hey everyone, welcome to another stream. We'll be starting in a moment. I'm getting everything set up, so bear with me as I get it done. Thank you, please. Alright. Done that. Showing on there. Everything seems to be okay. I can close this. I don't need it anymore. It seems to be good. I think we're good to go. So, hi everyone. Welcome to another stream of Apollo Justice Trilogy. Today, we are continuing where we left off last time with the DLC for Spirits of Justice, where we were doing the time travel wife or whatever it was called. Last time we did some more investigation. We ended up looking around. We ended up finding some blood on the elevator that led to the Vista deck. We ended up finding a candelabra that had fingerprints on it and some blood on one of the spokes, which was broken. And we ended up finding out that the butler had actually stabbed Soren with the candelabra, which is why Soren has an injury, which immediately started bleeding when we questioned him about it, and he was immediately like, "Oh!" And then when he lost his journal, he got very agitated. I guess the right word would be like panicky, like he's having an attack or something. But yeah, we're going to court. We're going to be seeing what we can learn in this one, and why the whole family was trying to cover this. But yeah, welcome Dafratron, welcome Swordmaster, welcome. We shall see what's going to be happening today. So let's get on with it. Sorry, I'm starting at like 6:30. I know it's still within the time frame that I would usually start anyway, but I had to help with something, but that's all sorted out now, so we can begin. Open game. We'll be here for a while. That's good. Is it showing up? Yeah, sounds good. Livestream as always. This segment shouldn't be too long. Okay. If it's like an hour or so, then that's great. If it's less than that, I'll probably do like 2 chapters or episodes. Road game. Trial day 2. Short while, my bad. Okay, that's fine. I missed you, Swordmaster. Why'd you have to leave? But okay. September 23rd, 8:50 a.m. I feel bad for Athena. She's been here this whole time, but she literally cannot join us because she keeps joining Trucy for her, like, circus or magic act. Not circus act. Although, technically, there are magicians in some circuses, so yeah, I guess it is sort of one. This and the next are about the same length. Okay. So the one thing we found out yesterday is that Soren was there at the crime scene. I can only hope I can get some testimony from him that will get to the heart of the matter. Mr. Wright. Good morning, Ellen. Look, I'm afraid you might not like the result of today's trial. Nevertheless, don't tell me you're still thinking of going that route. Soren is innocent. He can't be found guilty. Take me instead. Ellen, please, try and get a hold of yourself. I believe in Soren with all my heart. So how dare you doubt him? Regardless of which one of them is found guilty today, it's going to be devastating for Ellen, isn't it? We'll just have to do everything we can. That's the best way we can do, you know? The trial is about to begin, Mr. Wright. Alright, let's go, Maya. Speaking of detective games, there is Master Detective Archives Raincode, done by the same creators as Danganronpa. Alright! I've never played a Danganronpa game, but I don't really have an interest in Danganronpa purely because of its art style, and I've seen some of the story, and it seems kind of convoluted and not my kind of thing. Yeah. Even Maya agrees with me. You can keep saying I'm going to be playing the Great Attorney Chronicles next anyway, but I can't because I don't have it. It's going to be a while. I probably won't be able to play it until next year or something. I've got plenty of other things to do. I want to break from the Attorney games for a bit. We've done 2 of them. Court is now in session. Day 2. All rise. Court is back in session for the trial of Ellen White. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. For some whatever reason, there's some sort of war between Ace Attorney and Danganronpa fandoms. Really? Why? Aren't they completely different games? Let's see, where were we? In yesterday's session, we found out about the Sprocket family conspiracy to cover up the murder of Dumas Gloomsbury with a second reception. Taking advantage of our collective shock, the defense, as usual, made a nonsensical claim. Namely, that there was a third person present who struck the victim.
Objection!
Hey, don't try to make it sound like I made it all up. The defendant herself made a statement about the existence of a third person. And further investigation has only proven her statement to be true. Then I presume the defense intends to focus on proving the identity of this third person. I'm enjoying Master Detective Archives, though I agree with their tendency to make the story convoluted. Both series have some similarities and are often compared. I guess. To be fair, I've barely looked at Danganronpa stuff. Like, I've looked at one thing, like, one game, I mean, and, like, some of the scenes from it, and I was like, oh, okay, teddy bear with a belly button. People die. For some reason, the blood is purple. Okay, I'm not really interested. Is that all right with you, Mr. Edgeworth? Indeed, Your Honor. In fact, I predict that the defense will most likely attempt to name Mr. Soren Sprocket as the true culprit. How did you... You just revealed it, Phoenix! What are you doing? The driver during the incident that killed Mr. Sprocket's sister was the victim. Therefore, Mr. Sprocket had a motive to murder Mr. Gloomsbury. That's what you plan to assert, is it not, Mr. Wright? Am I that transparent? I mean, no, it's kind of easy to make that deduction, given the evidence. Come now, Mr. Wright, did you really think the police wouldn't uncover the information? Congrats on getting it in one, Mr. Edgeworth. But... You're wrong, Soren didn't do it. He's innocent. Miss Wyatt, please. He's innocent, I tell you. What is this, Mr. Wright? I thought your claim about the existence of a third person came from the defendant. It did. This is just a minor hiccup. Did you not discuss your strategy for today with the defendant, Mr. Wright? Starting off on the wrong foot again is seriously cutting into my lifespan. It would appear that defense is in disarray. Therefore, the best way to clear things up is to ask Mr. Sprocket himself what happened. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call Soren Sprocket to the stand. What? Very well. Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Sprocket to the witness stand. Do it now! Imagine clanging utensils in court. Yeah. He has shoes. No. Why do they always start at the feet? Do they have a fetish? I wouldn't say anything if they just didn't focus on the feet for so long. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Oh! There's something written on this paper airplane. Let's see. Soren Sprocket, Managing Director of Sprocket Aviation. Mr. Sprocket, please give your answers in words, not paper airplanes. And now then, Mr. Sprocket, please tell that doubting lawyer there what really happened at the time of the crime. Well, Mr. Sprocket? Mr. Sprocket. Alright. Even after all these years, you still have problems with witnesses. I want to talk about what happened when the crime occurred. In other words, after the first wedding reception, when Ellen and I were in the reception hall, right? Not even the power of court can stop him from marching to the beat of his own drum. I really thought his coat was longer, like it has one of those, tail coats. But I guess not. What Soren remembers. I was stabbed by Dumas in the reception hall and I collapsed to the floor. And the next thing I saw was Ellen and Dumas in the Vista deck. I knew Ellen was in danger, so I headed for the Vista deck. But when I got there, Dumas was already. I don't want to believe it, but it must have been Ellen. Nothing else makes sense. He's gritting his teeth. Wait just a minute here. You actually think Miss Wyatt killed the victim? That's right. Dumas was killed by Ellen. This is unbelievable. How can you suspect your bride, the woman you love?
Objection!
The truth can be cruel. Miss Wyatt, you must be very upset. Is there anything you wish to say? She has the mind-broke eyes. No, I can't believe this, Soren. I thought at least you would believe in me. The best way now to show your love for your groom is to admit your guilt and try to atone. Soren.
Hold it!
Mr. Edgeworth, I haven't even cross-examined the witness yet. And quit picking on the clearly distraught. Why is Edgeworth being such a dick? He had this whole arc when he was like, he was searching for the truth. And now he's gone back to being an asshole. What the hell? Like, come on. I guess being in the office has really tightened his gears or something. Yeah, that's not cool, Mr. Edgeworth. Well, or as he says it, that's so not cool. A court is where we seek the truth. And the truth is unyielding even to the truly pitiful. Mr. Edgeworth, I find it distasteful to make a lady cry. Even though I've done it a few times myself, and I've seen you do it more than once. Et tu, Your Honor. You're not in the Roman Empire. So what are you going to do, Nick? The third person Ellen saw on the Vista deck was Soren. And then we have to prove Soren was there at the time of the murder. I don't see any obvious inconsistencies in his testimony, but we have to push forward. If only Apollo was here, he could see that he was lying because he was gritting his teeth and doing something with his hand. The swung song personality of Edgeworth. Yes, old master.
Hold it!
Please tell me everything you can about when you got stabbed. After the reception, Anna and I were enjoying a moment alone in the reception hall. And then Dumas appeared and stabbed me. He grabbed Ellen and the timekeeper and left the reception hall. Did Mr. Gloonsbury say anything at that time? I don't remember. After I was stabbed, I was immobilized by pain. I see.
Hold it!
The Vista deck, huh? But it was of nighttime then. Could you really see them in the darkness? The moon was out, so I could see them clearly. From the looks of it, Dumas was trying to push Ellen and the timekeeper off the side. So you saw the defendant about to be thrown off the airship, you say? That's right. In such a desperate situation, it can only be natural for her to fight for her life. And the murder weapon was right there within her grasp. Ugh, this isn't going well at all. I've got to do something fast.
Hold it!
I understand that your bride was in danger, but were you really able to move with a stab wound to the gut? I was desperately trying to push the pain out of my mind. I see. So adrenaline kicked in and gave you the strength. Is that right? I don't see much of anything in this statement I can refute. That's right. I almost passed out several times as I made my way to the Vista deck.
Hold it!
Are you absolutely sure, Mr. Sprocket, that by the time you got to the Vista deck, the murder had already been committed? Yes. But the Vista deck is just on the other side of the glass windows in the reception hall. Shouldn't you have been able to get there right away?
Objection!
Mr. Wright, have you investigated nothing? The only way to the Vista deck is to go to the hold and take the lift. No matter how much one hurries, it would take at least 10 minutes. Well, that's unhelpful. But Soren had to have gotten there before the murder, or my claim won't stand. Do you have any ideas for me, Maya? It's definitely easier to prove that someone did go to the hold than not. I mean, you can't leave anything if you don't go someplace, right? Can't leave anything. Wait a minute. I think Maya is onto something here. The lack of a certain something actually proves that Soren didn't go to the hold. What's the matter? Are you stumped already? No, I'm far from stumped, Mr. Edgeworth. I know for a fact that Mr. Sprocket didn't go to the hold. Huh. And you and your paper-thin bluffs. Mr. Sprocket's bloodstain on the lift proves he went through the hold. So what possible proof could you have that he did not, in fact, go through there? You want proof? You got it! You could do this, Phoenix. There's gotta be proof that Soren didn't go through the hold. Well, Mr. Wright, this proves that Mr. Sprocket didn't go through the hold. He would have needed something. The cards!
Take that!
As anyone can see from the hold entry record, there's absolutely no mention of Soren Sprocket entering the hold. The defense asserts that Mr. Sprocket used a different route to get to the Vista deck. You can assert what you want, Mr. Wright, but can you actually prove another route exists? Can I prove the existence of another route to the Vista deck, you asked? Well, there was that exit door, but that just led out into the open air. So unless he just suddenly, like, sprouts wings, or he went Daredevil and climbed the side of the freaking blimp, I don't know. Not yet. Well, now that I really think about it, I guess it's going to be hard to prove. But I can't back down now. The trial will be over if I do. Fine, then. I'll do it. There's only one thing I can do at a time like this. I can prove it. Even if it's just a bluff, I have to present something. Anything that could prove the existence of a faster route to the Vista deck. Very well then, Mr. Wright. Show us how Mr. Sprocket got to the Vista deck. He jumped through the window like Batman. Made for the Vista deck through here. This is the only thing.
Take that!
To save his bride from danger, Mr. Sprocket opened the escape hatch and made his way along the outside of the wall onto the Vista deck. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket? Imagine he just goes, no. That would certainly be a much faster route to the Vista deck.
Objection!
I actually sighed. I'm disappointed, Mr. Wright. Is that really the best you could muster? That escape hatch is not meant to be used to get away from the reception hall to the Vista deck. One slip and that's all it would take for Mr. Sprocket to plunge to his death. I have to agree, the defense's claim is really stretching it.
Hold it!
I understand how it sounds, Your Honor. But at this point, it's too early to definitively say that he didn't go that way. So that's what you're going with then, I take it? Of course, Your Honor. This is real life, Mr. Wright, not some cinematic drivel or comic book. No, it's an anime. Which is more fantastical, some would say. Do you have some sort of logical explanation to share that would convince us of your claim? I do. Are you sure, Nick? Kind of. Actually, I have nothing. So I'll just have to wing it somehow. Again. I don't know why, but this feels like classic Phoenix, like original Trilogy with how we're doing this. Probably because it is. On what do you base your theory that Mr. Sprocket made his way along the outside? My theory that he was able to go along the outside wall despite the danger is based on the power of money, the power of authority, the power of love. Probably the power of money, but love. I say the power of money and then choose love. Money and love is not the same. To save the bride he loves, the groom risked his life and rushed to her side. Mr. Sprocket was able to make it to the Vista deck despite the danger. Because of the power of love. The power of love? Isn't that a song? That love is a source of strength that can help you on overcome any obstacle. I think I can relate thanks to my long-owned happy marriage. Wow, he actually seems to be buying it.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, right? I don't believe in love. The power of love, you say? That kind of illogical argument is hardly viable in a court of law. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? I'm afraid not, Mr. Edgeworth. You should never underestimate the power of love. You'll understand one day when you get a lady. I wish I won't. When you get married. Yes, you will, Edgeworth, and you will like it. Exactly what is wrong with wishing to remain unwed? Way to set him off, Your Honor. Women are too complicated. They scared me. Never mind all this unscientific nonsense. Are you aware, Mr. Wright, that at the time of the crime... there were huge propellers turning at full speed between the hatch and the Vista deck. Even if a person were to go outside through the hatch. Whee! What is that animation? They'd be blown away in an instant. Ah! Where does your power of love get you now, Mr. Wright? A huge spinning propeller, you say? In that case, I have to admit it does seem impossible, especially against love. I should have known. Nick, you can't make that kind of face in front of your client. Even though you've done it plenty of other times. The worst times, lawyers when the force the biggest mouth. I'm starting to hate this freaking quote. It's coming up too many times. This is the bane of my existence, where, like, the dark age of the law was everyone else's. This is mine. Right? Right. I feel like I just saw Mia looking out at me through Maya's eyes. She's growing up. She's becoming Mia, too. Oh, what's wrong, Nick? Why are you gaping at me like a sunfish? Thank you, Maya. You just helped me remember something really important. There it is. There's that fearless smile I was looking for. You give us a mind-blowing theory, just like you always do. I should turn my thinking around. Instead of wondering how Soren could have moved past the huge propeller, I have to think about what would have made it possible for him to do so. What was the name of the prosecutor with the whip? Franziska. Franziska von Karma. She shall soon be Franziska Edgeworth. Your Honor, Mr. Wright only makes a ridiculous face when his back is pressed against the wall. Therefore, please do hurry and give your ruling before... It's too late. I'm already ready. Mr. Edgeworth, it's still far too early to discount my theory. What are you talking about? The airship's large spinning propellers would have already shredded it to pieces. Or if we think a little more outside the box, I'm sure we can find a way he would have made it. Stop trying to stall, Mr. Wright, and show us what could have been even remotely possible, if at all. Siblings, yes. Siblings. They're not really. They're just... Edgeworth was just under the guardianship of von Karma. I must agree with Mr. Edgeworth. Very well, Your Honor. There must have been a way. Some way that Soren could have moved along the wall in spite of the propeller. Now then, Mr. Wright, what specifically could have made it possible? I don't know why I'm using a different voice. This is how it could have been possible for Mr. Sprocket to get to the Vista deck. He got to the deck some other way. The propellers were broken. It wasn't flying. What allowed Mr. Sprocket to go along the outside wall in spite of the propellers is the location of the flying chapel at the time of the crime. The location of the flying chapel, but wasn't it... I'm doing the wrong voice again. Well, wasn't it flying high in the sky? No, Your Honor, I'm afraid it wasn't. What? Then where was it? At the time of the murder, the airship wasn't flying through the sky, but more to the ground. What? And if the airship wasn't flying, then that means... the propellers weren't turning. In which case... Mr. Sprocket could have got to the Vista deck alongside the outside wall. Yeah, I said that wrong, but it still works. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket? Oh, I did the wrong way. I don't remember. Ow, he stabbed himself with his pencil. That's gonna leave a mark.
Objection!
Even if the propeller weren't turning, it would have been far too risky to go that way. Ah, but Mr. Edgeworth, you're forgetting about the power of love. Yes, the amazing power of love. Not this again. Very well, for the sake of argument, let's assume the so-called power of love made it possible for Mr. Sprocket to move along the outside wall of the airship. Can you prove that the airship was tied to the ground as you claim, Mr. Wright? Well, I don't have any evidence that proves where the airship was at the time. You can't prove it, can you? Actually, that brings up the question, how would Larry be able to get onto the airship if it wasn't moored to the ground? Ugh. Maya, can you think of anything we can use to prove it? Can't say that I can. Oh, wait! Didn't somebody see something outside of a window at the time of the crime? I think I remember someone saying as much. Do I have a piece of evidence that shows what was outside the airship? Well, what are you waiting for? This piece of evidence shows that what was outside the airship at the time of the crime.
Take that!
This piece of evidence shows that what was outside of the airship at the time of the murder. Well, what kind of lousy drawing is that? It was a drawing made by Larry Butts. And what can you prove that with that poor attempt at artistry? Poor attempt? I'd like to see you do any better. This is actually better than what I can do. Look at it. It looks great. Poor artistry. Shut the hell up, Edgeworth. You can't make anything of worth, can you? Larry made this drawing before he switched the lanterns. So, it must be right around when the murder was being committed. Now, if I could direct the court's attention here. Is that a pterodactyl? Does that mean the airship actually went back in time to the Cretaceous period?
Objection!
We've already proven that time travel is nothing more than a gimmick, did we not? We did, and I have no intention of bringing up that argument again. But this drawing shows us an important piece of information. It shows us that the airship was actually moored to the ground. And what makes you so sure? That's easy. All you have to do is consider who made this drawing. Larry. God damn it, Larry. Larry, you're always getting in my way! That's right, it was Mr. Butts, and we both know what he's like. He must have seen something else and mistaken it for a pterodactyl. I can't argue with you there. Hey, wait just one goddamn minute there. Second, whatever. What kind of moron do you guys take me for? I saw it with my own eyes. A pterodactyl flew right by my window, I tell you. I have sharp eyes of an artist. Don't you believe me? No. Nick? Nope. I'm afraid you guys are. What about the judge? You believe me, right, Your Honor? I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you need to leave this courtroom. Bailiff, if you would. No one believes you. Get out of here. Come on, buddy. Let's go. Why does nobody believe me? Don't take it personally, Larry. I know you're just being, well, you. Now then, so you're saying what Mr. Butt's story really saw bears some relation to what was outside the airship at the time of the murder? Yes, Your Honor. At least, I think it does. What this pterodactyl really is proves the airship was anchored to the mooring dock. It had better... Anyway, if it isn't, or if it doesn't, my whole argument is a bust. I like to imagine he just throws sorting to the side when he takes the stand. He just throws people out of the way. Out of my way, I'm going to argue this. If you're that confident, then please, go ahead and tell us what it really was. Yes, Your Honor. I think, Phoenix, what would the pterodactyl actually have seen? Well, if it was windy, it could be this. Let's go with that first.
Take that!
Please take a good look at this sign. At the sign? It appears to have been broken and then repaired. But what does this sign have to do with the pterodactyl? Please focus on this part of the sign. What? I didn't even notice that. I was looking at the bench, not the sign. Okay then. The part that broke off and got reattached, what about it? How about if we turn it like this? Oh, that shape. It's the pterodactyl in the drawing. No, I did not see it. I wasn't even looking at the sign. What Mr. Butts actually saw was that chunk, as it was being blown through the air by the wind. What? On the day of the murder, there was some heavy winds in the area of the mooring dock. But it's hard to imagine that this sign would make it as high as an airship would fly. That means the flying chapel must have been anchored at the mooring dock that night. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket?
Objection!
You know, sometimes I think Edgeworth has a very punchable face. That's more than enough of this power of love nonsense, you pop culture junkie. Present all the proof you want, but your argument is based far too much on conjecture. Why don't we return to reality now? What do you mean, too much conjecture? Even if the airship wasn't flying, that alone doesn't prove the witness went along the wall. true, even it's no more than a possibility. And how do you propose Mr. Sprocket got to the Vista deck, Mr. Edgeworth? I noticed something as I went over the evidence. Please take a look at this hold entry record. What about it? I don't see Mr. Sprocket listed anywhere. Well, it was because this Pierce Nitchity guy took him, and blah, blah, blah. Don't you remember? In yesterday's session, we had a very similar kind of argument. Did we? Honestly, Mr. Wright, are you going to be going senile already? We talked about Larry Butts using the defendant key card in order to enter the hold. Oh, we did talk about that, didn't we? In other words, even if a person's name isn't on the entry record, it's still possible that for that person to have entered by using someone else's card. Mr. Sprocket, you entered with the hold. Or you entered the hold with Mr. Nitchity, didn't you? I did. What? Why didn't you tell us that in the first place? Pierce is indispensable. I didn't want to mention him unnecessarily, and we risk having him wrongly accused. I couldn't do without him. Mr. Sprocket, I ask that you testify in greater detail about your movements that night. Also, that kind of just tells me who the real villain is, even though it's kind of obvious. It's probably Pierce Nitchity. He's the fiancé to his sister who died in the car accident. Nitchity was the one that killed the Dumas Bloomsbury. He set up the whole thing so that he should not get the wife married to Soren. And now Soren knows that it was Pierce Nitchity, but he doesn't want to lose him because without Nitchity, he would also lose someone that was tied to his sister while also being able to help live his life. And he's probably in the mindset of like, well, I don't need Ellen because Nitchity is the one that helps me with everything anyway. So, whatever. Mrs. Sprocket, I ask you to testify in greater detail about your movements that night. That's just my theory, though. That's my game theory. I can say that because Matt Pat's not around anymore. The truth. The truth is I went to the Vista deck with Pierce. That's why my name doesn't appear on the hold entry record. I was badly injured from being stabbed. Stabbed, but I was frantic. By the time we reached the scene, it was all over. So now there were two people that were there. Well, this doesn't help me one bit. And Mr. Sprocket, you concealed information from us time and again. This is the first time. Who do you think you are, treating this court of law with such irreverence? There we go. That being said, I do appreciate the testimony you've gave just now. Thanks to you, we now know why your name doesn't appear on the entry record. Now there are no inconsistencies in the witness's testimony. That's Mr. Edgeworth for you. He never leaves a loose end dangling. Why am I having problems saying words all of a sudden? You okay, Nick? I wouldn't exactly call this situation okay. Somehow I have to coax the information we need from an opening out of him. If I even can, that is.
Hold it!
I certainly had the thought of him having a death note. I don't know why. I think it's because he's just reading a book. You didn't mention this because you didn't want Mr. Nishiji to fall under suspicion. Is that because he has something to hide? I just didn't want the police to take up his time with all their questions, that's all. Neither the company nor the household would function smoothly without him. I see. Wow, sounds like Pierce is absolutely indispensable to the Sprockets. He made himself that way so he couldn't be found of guilty. He was planning this whole time. Anyway, getting back to your statement. When did you meet up with Mr. Nitchity? We met up on my way to the Vista deck. I think Pierce and some of my relatives were on another floor. But Pierce heard the commotion and came running to my aid. You'd hear the pandemonium all the way from another floor? Mr. Wright, would you like the current statement added to the witness testimony? Yes. Yes, please, Your Honor. Very well. Pierce heard the commotion, and he came running. Let me have a look. How would he hear the commotion from all the way in the cabin when you've got, like, I don't know, 20 feet of, like, blimp to go through? While you're in the air, you'd just hear wind.
Objection!
I guess I can't present it then. The witness statement is inconsistent with the evidence. Mr. Wright, would you care to tell us, the court, what percent you are sure your claim? You already did this one. Why, of course. I'm 100, well, 90, maybe 8-ish. Would you accept 50%? 20 meters then. Shut up. Mr. Wright, I would have been half-hearted buffering. Your Honor, give him with a full-hearted penalty. 100% severity. To be sure of that. 20 miles then. I don't know.
Hold it!
Did Mr. Nitschedy come alone? I believe some of his subordinates were with him, but I don't remember exactly how many. He may say there were others, but seeing how they pulled that second reception off, I can't completely trust anything he has to say either. I see. So, you, Mr. Nitschedy, and a few others handed to the Vista deck, is that right? That's right.
Hold it!
Your name doesn't appear on the hold entry record because you entered with Mr. Nitschedy using his card. That's right. So I guess the hold entry record doesn't matter as much as we thought. And then it turns out it was one of the biggest evidences we needed later. But now that Soren's saying he was with Pierce and a few others, it's pretty tough to refute that statement. Oh, what's the matter, Mr. Wright? Got your tongue? Did you finally realize there's no point in continuing this trial any longer? Of course not. Wipe that smug look off your face. With a phoenix kick! Mr. Sprocket, please continue with your testimony.
Hold it!
Speaking of your injury, how are you doing now? The knife wound is deep and it continues to throb with pain. Knife wound? Fortunately, my internal organs were spared. But one wrong move could have spelled the end for me there. Even so, I've seen you up and about all over the place ever since the incident. I'm following my doctor's orders to perform some daily light exercises. You were just stabbed! You don't do daily light exercises after being stabbed! That's like later down the line, not immediately after. Mr. Wright, would you like Mr. Sprocket's statement about his condition added to his testimony? Not that it appears especially relevant to me. Should I have him add his testimony? Yes, because there's no knife. Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to have it added to his testimony. I see, very well. That knife wound.
Objection!
Mr. Sprocket, you just said your injury's a knife wound, didn't you? But the weapon you were stabbed with was this candelabra. A fact I know you're quite aware of. Very well. This is what I heard directly from Master Soren himself. As you surmised, Master Soren was stabbed with a gooseberry on the day of the murder. It happened after the first wedding reception. And he had a giant hand. The happy couple was in the reception hall when suddenly Gooseberry appeared. He attacked Miss Ellen and tried to take her away. Mr. Soren went to stop him and found himself in a struggle with Gooseberry. That's when Mr. Soren was stabbed with the candelabra, he said.
Objection!
It must have been a simply memory slip that made him misspeak. It happens to everyone. has nothing to do with this case. You must be pretty desperate to point out something so minute. I have to agree, Mr. Wright. You hardly need to make such a big deal over such a small mistake. But I contend that it's an important inconsistency. Besides, I could find anything else. This is the only thing I have to go after. Also, this is not just a minor mishap. There's a difference between a knife and a candelabra. A knife is much bigger. It would have a bigger wound. A candelabra has a little spoke. That would be like a little hole. It would still be painful and deadly in some instances, but not as bad. And I say it's not important. Now, let's not waste any more time on this matter. I agree. Everybody has a little memory lapse every now and then. Why are they talking about this so much? They're trying to make... I see. Okay.
Hold it!
But, Your Honor, please let me explain. But can you? Can you really explain to this court what makes this slip so important? Yes, I can, Your Honor. After all, it was Soren himself who told Pierce that he had been stabbed by a candelabra. This is more than a simple memory slip. There has to be some kind of reason for it. Well, Mr. Wright, please explain why the witness slip of the tongue is so important. The point is to focus on here why the witness would mistake the weapon used to stab him. Think carefully, Phoenix. It could very well change the course of the trial. I see. So why did the witness make the mistake, Mr. Wright? Mr. Sprocket identified the wrong weapon used against him because he misspoke. He's covering for someone. He has no memory of it. He has no memory. He doesn't remember the incident, let alone the weapon used against him. Not only that, but I believe Mr. Sprocket has some sort of memory disorder. Therefore, the defense contends that Mr. Sprocket's testimony thus far is invalid.
Objection!
But just because you can't find a flaw in his testimony, you want to throw it all out? Your baseless claim is nothing but pure slander of the witness's character. But Mr. Edgeworth is correct, Mr. Wright. Can you explain your grounds for making this claim? Of course, Your Honor. Think of what Soren has said, how he's behaved. That's where I'll find a clue. Very well, let's hear your argument then. My grounds for claiming the Sprocket has a memory disorder is his taciturn personality, his notebook, his airplane pen. Ah, yes, it goes back to the pen. It's the notebook. The notebook he always has with him. I saw daily events and information about the people around him recorded in it. Like a diary, perhaps. No, Your Honor, it's much too detailed to be an ordinary diary. It's more on the order of a database, actually. A database, you say? That's right. For some reason, Mr. Sprocket is apparently unable to retain memories. That's why he writes every little detail of his life down in his notebook.
Objection!
How could you possibly know that for sure? He must have just been an extremely compulsive person. Just like me. I thought so too myself, at first. To be honest, we accidentally got a stain on that notebook yesterday. You mean you got a stain on it? You're the one that tried to rip it out of my hand, so shut up. Hey, you're the one who tried to grab it out of my...
Objection!
That's what I'm saying. Never mind whose fault it was, just get to the point already. Right, sorry. Mr. Sprocket. The page Miss Faye got a stain on yesterday. That's the page with the details of your stabbing on it, wasn't it? No, I only write in this notebook because I'm very compulsive. No, drop the subject already. Sorry, but I'm not convinced. I noticed an odd fact about your notebook, Mr. Sprocket. On the earlier pages, you used to write it down invention ideas. But after a certain date, you started writing down a lot more and in much more detail. I believe your memory disorder stems from what happened on that date. Something so monumental it caused a memory disorder, Mr. Wright. You don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but I do know what I'm talking about, and this is the proof. This is the thing that caused Mr. Sprocket's memory disorder. Ba-ba-da-ba-da.
Take that!
You were involved in this car accident too, weren't you, Mr. Sprocket? And the shock of losing your beloved older sister is what caused you to develop your memory disorder. No! The car crash called the... Oh, my sister's dead. Better wipe my memory of everything. What? No, that's not how it works. Is this true, Mr. Sprocket? Well, is it? Mr. Sprocket. It's true. The accident did something to my mind. What? Ever since that day, every time I go to sleep, I lose my memories. And when I wake up, the most recent thing I can remember is the day I lost my sister. It's as if I'm constantly going back in time. It is exactly like I said. Exactly like I said with that film. With the mind, the memory girl that keeps forgetting every single, like, week or something. With Adam Sandler. What? That's truly tragic. An inconsolable time traveler who goes back in time whenever he tries to go to sleep. That's why it's called time traveler, because he's literally a time traveler because he keeps going back to the accident every day. Okay. So time travel do exist, you know, but you wouldn't understand. So that's what Soren meant. He was talking about himself. The reactions of the people around me each time I woke made me aware of my condition. That's why I decided to write everything down in my notebook so I could move forward. So the only memories you have since that day are the ones written in that notebook? That's right. And since that page about your stabbing got stained, you couldn't read from it, could you? There's just one more thing I'd like you to clarify for me, Mr. Sprocket. Exactly what are your feelings towards the victim? Mr. Sprocket's feelings towards Dumas Bloomsbury? That's right, Your Honor. The witness said that every time he wakes up from sleep, his mind goes back to the day his sister died. Mr. Wright, you can't mean... Mr. Sprocket. Your pent-up feelings of anger and resentment towards Mr. Bloomsbury for the accident were renewed each and every time you woke, were they not? But you couldn't take it anymore, so you turned to murder. Isn't that right? You became a murderer! Tell me! What? Mr. Wright, are you saying that the witness murdered Mr. Bloomsbury for revenge? Well, Mr. Sprocket? Miss Wyatt. Your Honor, I did it. I killed Mr. Bloomsbury. No! What? I mean, I kind of saw this coming. Miss Wyatt, what are you trying to do? Don't tell me you're still thinking of going to that room, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, citizen, he can't be found guilty. Take me instead. Ellen, please try to get a hold of yourself. I guess she really meant it. Yeah? My son didn't do anything wrong. I'm the one who should be convicted. We'd understand that you are confessing your guilt. No. Now wait just a minute here. Ellen, why would you cover for me? After I testified that I thought you must have killed him. I'll admit, I couldn't believe my ears at first. But all I want is for you to be happy. Your happiness is my happiness, Soren. But without my notebook, I'd even forget those feelings of yours by tomorrow. Knowing that, do you still feel this way? You loved me all this time. The same way you did before the accident. Oh, before the accident! That's how I know. But you're the same person I've always loved. No disorder can change that. Ellen. Your Honor, there are two things I'd like to correct. Two corrections? What are they? First of all, I want you to withdraw one of my statements. That's right, Dumas was killed by Ellen. Without memories to rely on, I took the police completely at their word. You can't be serious! So that means Soren never really doubted Ellen in the first place, did he, Nick? Ellen really does love Soren with all her heart. But in order to save her, I'll still have to go after Soren. I hope you can forgive me, Ellen. And what is your other correction, Mr. Sprocket? The truth is, I never felt anger or resentment towards Dumas about my sister. What? Why not? Why not? Why are you not making it easier for me? That's because the one who caused the accident was me. What? Order in the court. Please continue, Mr. Sprocket. I'm the one who killed my sister. To protect my career and my future, my father made Dumas take the blame, in exchange for money and the position of lead servant. Ah. Yeah, just update this, in the middle of this dramatic moment. So you see, Dumas must have held a grudge against me, not the other way around. And he must have attacked Ellen to get his revenge on me. Are you sure about all of this, Mr. Sprocket? Very sure. It's all been written down in detail in my notebook. That notebook is important evidence supplying background to this case. I must insist you submit it as evidence. Chronicles the events of each day. The lawyer said I had turned to murder, but that's just not true. However, it is true that my older sister and Dumas are both dead because of me and my negligence. I just glanced through Mr. Sprocket's notebook. I just looked through it, as a casual thing, and it says here he wants to murder him. I wasn't able to read the part about when he was stabbed due to the bloodstain. But what's written here about his sister's car accident is exactly as he stated. Your Honor, as long as it matches what's written in that notebook, can we still take the witness's testimony as valid in spite of his memory disorder? Yes, I do believe we can. I understand now that the witness's memory is in disarray. But what if Mr. Sprocket himself wrote in this notebook is true? Then that means by the time Mr. Sprocket's party reached the scene, the victim had already been killed. Edgeworth's right. I'm still in the same blind as before. Fine. I get the L from. But should I really simply accept the contents of the notebook as a substitute for Soren's memory? Well, Mr. Wright, what do you think? Will you accept Mr. Sprocket's notebook as an official representation of his memories? Will I accept Mr. Sprocket's notebook as an official representation of his memories? Why do you have to repeat it? Let me have a look. Soren had been writing nothing but ideas for his inventions until March 8th of last year, when he abruptly began chronicling the events of each day in excruciating detail. However, the details of the murder have been rendered illegible by a bloodstain. How? Because we did give it to someone. We gave it to Sephiroth. And he probably could write anything in that as he wanted. Plus he has a machine that can copy stuff, so he could probably just make it right in his writing. Wait a minute, Your Honor. The defense requests a chance to examine the notebook to see if it's trustworthy. Very well, but be quick about it. Thank you, Your Honor. So, how should we examine it? Well, we should look at it from all different angles to see if there's anything suspicious. Oh, I can spin! There's no point if I don't look at what's inside. I'll have to open it. With your permission, Soren, here I go. It's not that you're diving into a freaking... Yikes. Oh, it's just the page Maya got all stained. I guess it's not going to be very helpful at this moment. I'll keep going. This is the last page where there's right. Huh. Something about this page doesn't sit right with me. I mean, the fact that it's ripped off? I better take a closer look. See, it's right there. This page is blank. Huh? The page has been torn out. And it looks like there was something written on it. It looks like a page has been torn out of here. Mr. Sprocket, do you know what was written on it? Oh, that. I often tear out pages when I write somebody a note. I probably wrote something down, so somebody tore it and gave it away to them. Oh, yeah. That solves that, then.
Objection!
Wait a minute. We can't ignore the possibility that something important was written on that page. But now that the page has been torn out, how can we determine what was written there? I don't know. Maybe we should do the oldest trick in the book, where we get a pencil and we scrub the thing that was behind it, so then we can see the impression marks. Or, you know, maybe I'm just speaking out of my butt there. Well, let's see. To find out what was written in the page in the notebook, we should use fingerprint powder. I mean, I guess fingerprint powder could work. A pencil would make more sense. If we used a fingerprint powder on the notebook, we might be able to see what was written. Fingerprint powder? How would that help us find out what was written there? Well, if the writing left indentations on the blank page behind it, the fingerprint powder could make those small indentations visible to the naked eye. Oh, stop. Fingerprint powder would only sully the notebook further. Mr. Wright, if you use the powder and still don't find anything, then you must accept the notebook as a representation of the witness's memories. All right, Your Honor, I understand. I don't find anything. It's all over anyway. Powder, don't fail me now. Just upend the pot. I will now use the finger powder on the blank page to find out if we can see what was written on the torn out page. First, I'll apply some fingerprint powder to these pages with space. When I've dusted enough powder, I'll use blow. I'll use blow! You're not a Pokemon. To blow the excess powder. If something should appear, I should switch to analyze. Point to come up, then press confirm. This whole page, so I'll get something. Oh, why is it so much longer? I want to zoom out. Blow! I struck. Oh, whoops. Can you see like the words like appear as you put the thing on them, like before you blow it? It's funny for me. My headset just gets disconnected, so as soon as I got this out, my sound just cut out. And I was like, dun dun dun. The sound was like being dramatic. Oh, there is something else up here. I was looking up there because I was wondering if there's anything else we might have missed. And lo and behold, there did. Dumas took Ellen to the Vista deck. I did do something here, but just in case. Yeah, nothing else. And then Q. It looks like I didn't get quite enough fingerprint powder on the page. What do you mean? Is that enough? No, I guess not. God, this has to be so freaking fiddly, doesn't it? As I said, this would be so much easier if I could just upend the pot on the damn thing. That. Okay, is that enough? It says, I struck and killed Dumas. This is huge. I struck and killed Dumas. That's what was written on the torn-out page. What? It can't be. I don't believe it. There has to be some kind of mistake. Sora would never, could never. Miss Wyatt. Bailiff, please get the defendant to the infirmary at once. Apparently, the defendant got too worked up. She's resting in the infirmary as we speak. Now then, please continue, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. This notebook is all Mr. Sprocket has to remember things by. With this critical page torn out, not even Mr. Sprocket himself knew the truth of what he had done. I'm the one who killed Dumas, so it wasn't Ellen. Oh, thank goodness. Mr. Sprocket, does this mean you were at the crime scene during the murder after all? I guess I must have been. But, Mr. Sprocket, can we really believe what's written in this notebook? Nobody touches his notebook but me. Well, I touched it. Pierce touched it. And when I sleep, it's under lock and key. I don't remember writing that I killed Dumas, but I guess I must have. Well, now that we have a confession, I'm afraid I must render my verdict. Of all the... Yes, Your Honor. Please give your ruling now while Ellen is asleep. I want the woman I love to be set free as soon as possible. Sora really does love Ellen after all, doesn't he? Yeah. So this is how it ends. This is how I want it to... How it really went down? Is there really no way for them both to be happy? No! There's no good endings. Everyone gets an evil ending. Bad end for everyone. I know we should consider anything written in the notebook to be the truth, but still. I myself wrote of the crime in my notebook. No further proof is necessary. Sora himself wrote in his notebook. Wait a minute. Very well. I will now give my verdict. Ellen is about to be found not guilty, and Sora will be convicted for the crime instead. And yet, am I really ready for the judge to give his ruling? No. No, not when there's still one more avenue left to explore. This court finds the defendant, Ellen Wyatt.
Hold it!
Your Honor, there's still something that bothers me about that notebook. Oh, is there? Oh, what are you doing, Mr. Wright? All you have to do is keep quiet and your client's a free woman. What happened to finding the truth, Edgeworth? I know, but I think there might be more to this case than meets the eye. I'm not quite sure yet, but I think there still might be a way. A way for Ellen and Soren to be happy. They can both go to prison. What do you mean by more than meets the eye, Mr. Wright? I believe the question here, Your Honor, should be, why was the incriminating page torn out in the first place? Why? To destroy the evidence, I would imagine. But removing it from the notebook is the same as removing it from Mr. Sprocket's memory, which means he wouldn't have been able to trick the police if he came under suspicion. No, if he wanted to cover up his crime, he would have to remember that he had done it. Just what are you getting at with all this line of inquiry, Mr. Wright? Yes, please do explain so that we can all understand, especially me. Yes, Your Honor. The page was torn out in the notebook because we wanted to forget what happened. It was torn out by accident. Somebody else tore it out. The incriminating page was torn out by somebody else. What? Order, order. Are you claiming a third person interfered with the notebook? It's not all that surprising if you consider what's happened up until now. After both the car accident and the murder of Dumas Bloomsbury, there are always a cover-up not far behind. Well, there was always. But I had my notebook with me at all times. Did you? Because I remember you were in a panic yesterday because you couldn't find it. That's true. How do you remember that? Unless you wrote that down. So, who orchestrated this particular cover-up, Mr. Wright? If we think back over the course of the trial, it's pretty easy to guess. The one who may have tried to tamper with Soren's memories is Maya Fey.
Take that!
The one who tampered with the notebook in order to manipulate Soren Sprocket's memory is Pierce Nitchety. Pierce tried to tamper with my memories. Pierce was manipulating me. Case in point, the two receptions that were held to cover up the murder. It was Mr. Nitchety who directed the geists and orchestrated the entire scheme. No, it can't be. Which of my memories are mine and which has been rewritten? When did he start rewriting my memories? Who wrote this and this and this? And this and this and this and this? Ah! His pressure gauge is going up! Whee! And there he goes. He literally took off! What? Look, Nick, he's coming back down. My memories, Ellen. Mr. Sprocket! And now they've both passed out. Bailiff, get Mr. Sprocket to the infirmary on the double. It's like, whose memories are mine and whose is someone else's? Yeah, pretty much of mine. He had also his own mind break there. Again. Mr. Sprocket has been taken to the infirmary. We don't have to worry about him running away. So let us resume where we left off. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Pierce Nitchety to the stand.
Objection!
We already know he carried out the cover-up to correct company and Mr. Sprocket. What more do you want from him? This time it's different. The notebook, or rather Mr. Sprocket's memories, have been tampered with. That means the only person who knows the whole truth is now Nitchety. Don't tell me, are you actually trying to drum up a third suspect? In order to exonerate the defendant and her groom? I'm not drumming up anything, nor do I have to grounds to accuse him of anything yet. I only want the truth. You remember that? All I know is Mr. Nitchety is the only one who knows the truth. I think he's still hiding something we don't know about yet. Huh. No grounds yet, is it? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, does the prosecution consent to calling the witness to the stand? It does, Your Honor. However, I would like a little time to talk with the witness before we do. Very well. We will break for a 20-minute recess. Yeah! Whoa! Trauma! To be continued. Yes, I would like to save my game. Secrets Unveiled. I gotta remember that for our title, so then we can do that next time. But yeah, this is a good place to stop. It's been an hour. We got plenty of time to do the next one next time. So yeah, a bit short for this stream, but hey, hope everyone enjoyed regardless. Sometimes we do this kind of thing to keep it all matched up. We shall see what will happen next time, which will be next week, Tuesday for this. Where we will find out what really happened that day and whether Sephiroth was actually the one that's messing with Cloud's mind and trying to make him evil and join his side. Wait, no, that's Final Fantasy. We're going to see if we can stop Nichidi from trying to make it seem as though this other guy killed him. And whether find out what truly happened and why, and if I was right on everything. But yeah, that's all stop for today. So thank you all for joining. Hope everyone enjoyed. As usual, if you have not already, like, follow, subscribe to the bell notifications to know when our next stream. If you want to support me, there's links to Patreon and tips down there as well. And if you do become a patron, get your name entered to the Patreon list here, where I give you a shout out of every stream, and I thank you for the continued support, like I do with Hiro Kuni, the Swordmaster 37, and I thank you for the continued support, and I greatly appreciate you. And we mind break 2 people in one go. But yeah, until next time, y'all have a nice rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow, where we'll be playing a new game, because I finished Bioshock Infinite, so tune in for that. Apparently that's going to be fun. I've got a lot of people that want me to play that personally. That I personally know, I mean. So, yeah, we'll be seeing how that goes tomorrow. But I'll be back with this next week. So I'll either see you tomorrow or next week. So until then, you'll take care. Have a nice rest of the day. And, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow or next week. Bye, everyone. Bye for Charm. Bye, Swordmaster. Bye-bye.